reading has always been enjoyable for you. If somebody did not like reading, how would you be able to help them? Right? Because reading is so important in our culture and in the world, right? So much knowledge is in books, but we also know so many people who don't read, and it's such a shame. And yes, we're surrounded by people who read here, but like, for example, when you have kids, how do you help them love reading?
So one of my brothers like didn't enjoy reading at all, but then he was really, really like obsessed with Star Wars.
Okay.
And so he read like, so basically that was like the key, was he never really read. He, you know, was struggling with like learning and I don't know, just normal school stuff. And then he got into like Star Wars books, and now he's literally has like hundreds of Star Wars books, like all the like canon, non-canon.
Wow.
But that was the gateway for him to enjoy reading. So I guess if I was in that situation, I would probably try and find like some open door, or like some pre-existing interest, or something that kind of shoehorns into reading books or novels.
And I think that's the key. Like growing up in Asia, parents constantly impress on the kids that it's so important to read.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is what's required reading in schools. So here's the textbooks, here's the classics. But finding the right book, the right genre, the right author could completely unlock that door. As long as they can understand the key, that everything they want to know and to excel is all in here, is written right there. If you just take the time and energy to read through that and you absorb that, then you suddenly can obtain it.
Take a look, it's in a book, a reading rainbow. A reading rainbow.
I don't think our education system nor parenting focuses in on that. They still do it the very traditional. You want, especially Asian parents, right? It's like, you need to get straight A's, so you need to be a reader, so these are books you have to read now. Like 7 a.m., I'll wake you up, and if you stop reading, I'll whip you, right? Like that's totally the wrong way to teach your kid to read.
It should be fun.
It should be
like,
fun.
Reading is
good.
inherently like a great thing.
Yeah.
And if you're just doing it, like I need to extract the, you know,
Yeah,
like
you just do it to
extract the
take-
nutrients and like move on. Like, it's like you're really missing the heart of probably what every author you're reading intended you to feel. Like it's it should be a very emotional, very like life-giving thing. And if you're just like you know, you're kind of ruining it.
There's a Chinese proverb, right? 书中自有黄金屋. Inside a book, there is a treasure chest. There is mystery. And that's so true, right?
Oh, yeah.
Some authors spend their entire life, decades of their research. They pour it all into this one book. It's all right there. And if you can just unlock that, then suddenly you inherited everything that author has learned.
Yeah.
And so if you read one book, you inherit one author, you read 300 books, you're constantly walking around with an army of 300 experts all within you, right? And nobody can take that away. And so if you can help your child unlock that early on, that is a much better inheritance than anything.
Totally.
If you want to make the biggest impact in your field, in your trade, in your practice, what do you think you should do, or what do you think people generally should do?
Oh, well. With all my expertise being the biggest in my field, I would say you'd probably have to be considered like an expert, like, you know, among your peers, and generally like I hold my own, you know, respected and all that stuff.
That's the common way, right? If you're really good in your field, maybe you want to get a PhD in that field. Maybe you want to get some awards and recognition, and you get more and more and more specialized, and then you create something new, and you have an original contribution to your field, and everybody recognizes you. Like, that's what I think most people think. In our society is kind of set up that way. But from my perspective, what I see generally speaking across the different industries, the biggest impact to the field, to your field, is not by the experts. Is not by being the expert and then inventing something new. It's actually something that comes outside of your industry, right?
Oh.
Let's talk about fax machines, right?
Okay.
The fax machine expert, the biggest fax machine company, didn't just have better and better fax machines. It just completely got replaced by email, right? And so a lot of times a certain industry in a different field can have a traumatic effect and disruption in your field. And this is why I believe being a generalist is much more important than being a specialist. Learning about different industries and applying what other industries can do to your field can sometimes change your field in a bigger way than if you became a specialist. There's still value in being a specialist. If you have the right personality to be a specialist, you could be a specialist.
Yeah.
If you want to continue, I mean, and I don't mean you don't work hard in your field. You're still working 10, 20, 30 years in your field. I don't mean you're like constantly switching jobs every 2 years. You're still crafting and you're still perfecting what you do, but instead of just narrowing in one little facet, trying to acquire as many skill sets and be very have a very broad perspective of everything else. Right?
Yeah.
I think that can actually impact your industry.
You know, I've had a lot of jobs. Boxer, mascot, astronaut, imitation crusty, baby proofer, trucker, hippie, plow driver, food critic, conceptual artist, grease salesman, carny, mayor, grifter, bodyguard for the mayor, country western manager, garbage commissioner, mountain climber, farmer, inventor, smithers, Gucci, celebrity assistant, power plant worker, fortune cookie writer, beer baron, quickie mark clerk, home.
So what are you gonna try?
What am I gonna try? Well, so this is something I've had on my list for a while, but I haven't like started it yet. But I wanted to learn. I never really learned how to play chess.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
and I would like to. I don't need to be like amazing,
Right.
But I would like to be like decent. I've heard that the way to play is like being able to anticipate other people's like your opponent's moves, and not just one, but like basically their whole game. You're supposed to anticipate and kind of be able to have out, chart out the multiple scenarios and then position yourself accordingly or whatever.
I can also trade and take, and if takes, I take. If takes, queen e2, queen h4, g3, knight g3, check, c6, queen b7, knight h1, king there.
And so for me, I think that would be good because I do have a hard time sometimes like getting in other people's heads. Like I can intuit a good amount, but sometimes it's hard for me to on the spot think of how other people are feeling at the moment, especially if we're like at odds or just not seeing eye to eye. It's hard for me to empathize with that or to kind of, feel that way. So I imagine maybe in a roundabout way, having to do that exercise of chess of like, what are they thinking? How are they feeling? Maybe it could get me into the habit of getting into someone else's head and mind to inform how I am interacting with them. Nice. I don't know.
Maybe, yeah. Yeah. I've been a huge chess player my whole life.
Really?
Yeah, international chess as well as Chinese chess.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
I love chess. And one of my best friends, he's the president of chess, and we used to play chess all the time.
Wow.
Yeah. I definitely think you're able to see different steps ahead. His biggest takeaway from chess is that no matter the situation, all the solutions is here. If you just look intently enough and you work hard enough, you can solve it. There's always a better move. One way to deal with the retirement is instead of living in the US, there's so many options around the world.
Yeah.
You could totally go live in Thailand or anywhere else and just kind of figure that out, right? The converse of that is you can also bring the best things from around the world to the US to deal with your retirement.
Oh.
So, for example, US has pretty good rent control places in certain places around the US. If you can lock in a really good rent control, well, that kind of solves your living expense to a huge degree. What does US suck at? Healthcare, right? It's really, really expensive. That's why so many people go live overseas because healthcare insurance is also much cheaper overseas. But recently, I just found out that if you just drive an hour and a half south from here in California and you get into Mexico, they have a really good healthcare system over there. There's a whole thing they're pushing. It's medical tourism, which means a lot of people from around would go to Mexico for healthcare. But kind of just piece together the best of Canada, best of Mexico, the best of Thailand, the best of Europe, different things. And then you can lock it all in one place in the US. And that's one way to kind of reduce your expense for your retirement.
Yeah.
Without having to save up a huge amount of money so that for your pot of gold to pay dividends to kind of fund the rest of your lifestyle.
Right.
So many people travel overseas, but you know, that is kind of painful. You're sacrificing all your relationships and you're moving to a different country, you're teaching English there. Sure, you can still live pretty comfortably, maybe like a king over there, but how long do you want to live that way?
Right.
You eventually want to come back.
Right.
But this way, you can actually still live here. You can still travel, you can still see a lot of people, but you just kind of have to do some small tweaks.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's cool because I feel like a lot of people think of it, including myself, as more black and white. Of like I can either go or I can stay. If I
Right.
stay, that means I have to do everything the way it's traditionally done in the
Right.
U.S.
Right.
But that's kind of a middle ground, the best of
Yeah.
both.
US has really, really good benefits. Social Security, Medicaid, disability benefits. If you worked in the military before, you have VA benefits. There's so many benefits depending on your individual lifestyle. So if you leave, you kind of sacrifice a lot of those.
I guess it's just taking the time to think about and
Yeah.
explore other options.
Right. Don't take the status quo as this is your only option. If you just pick the right place and you tap into the benefits of that state, that
Yes.
city, the government programs, and then some of the costs that are big, you kind of outsource to the rest of the world that you're able to find, then it can make your life just that much better. And that's episode 4. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching.
Bye-bye.